I'm Trevor Alonzo, and this is my review of the documentary In Search of Tomorrow, the definitive look at science fiction of the 1980s. It's from the same people who brought us In Search of the Last Action Heroes, In Search of Darkness, In Search of Darkness Part 2, and soon to be released In Search of Darkness Part 3. That one's still in production. This one deep dives into, you guessed it, science fiction of the 1980s. In movies and in pop culture. It does this with so much detail. With a runtime of 5 hours, it makes good use of the time. Even though it's long, the documentary does not feel like it drags on at all. Which, with some long documentaries, I've found that kind of repetitive, but not here. Here it keeps you interested, it keeps going. There's not like a weird pattern where it drags. Yes, there are some patterns going year by year, but they break it up. It really keeps you interested. Going through each year while talking about other subjects, every now and then, they talk about music and movies, whether it's iconic scores or the soundtracks for the films. I'm glad to see them talk about that. I do own a few soundtracks myself, Ghostbusters and Explorers, just to name a few. They did bring in tons of stars and people behind the scenes of these movies, giving us so much information on everything that they talk about, whether it's a film or a different subject. People such as Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Paul Verhoeven,
Will Wheaton,
Ivan Reitman, Clancy Brown, John Carpenter are just a few that I named off here. Speaking of the late Ivan Reitman, the documentary at the end is dedicated to him, which was touching to see. There are a few moments when they were talking about the Cold War that it feels like it's starting to become more timely and relevant to current events. History does repeat itself. At one point they talked about the NASA Space Shuttle program, which for the 1980s they did talk about the tragic event of the Challenger shuttle, which they talked about with full respect. There were so many movies they went over, some movies that I haven't even heard of, but just to list off a few movies that they did talk about: Superman 2, RoboCop, Star Trek V, Megaforce, Spaceballs, Miracle Mile, Runaway, The Running Man, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. I could go on and on about this list all day. Even stuff they just showed posters of, I'm like, oh, well, okay, they mentioned that, or they kind of showed that. I did get a chance to be a part of this documentary. It was very cool to be involved. I did see my name at the end of the credits. I was also glad to get others involved in this project as well. This really is a documentary for the fans by the fans. In case you can't already tell, I really do like this documentary and believe in this project. They really did bring their A game to this documentary. Now, I don't have very many complaints about this. Yes, this is 5 hours long, and I might turn some people away from it, but it zooms by. You could watch this broken up as a series. There was a few movies I wish they talked more about, but then it would have been way longer. They spend enough time in talking about each movie, and you get enough to enjoy it. It also is impossible to mention every single science fiction movie from the 1980s. The movies that they did mention that I haven't heard of before or been meaning to see, I've actually put on my watch list. I'm going to give this documentary a 10 out of 10 spaceships. Please go check it out, it is well worth your time. If you love science fiction or if you love the 80s, this is definitely for you. Even if you just love film and you're a cinephile, you'll definitely love this. Thank you for watching my video. Also, it's still not too late to be a part of this documentary and get your name in the end credits. Yes, there's a version out right now, but that's for early people. This is your last chance to become a backer. Check out the link below in the description. And now, for your last video for In Search of Tomorrow, the definitive look at science fiction in the 1980s.
1980 science fiction has all of those elements that make greatness in cinema and storytelling.
It changed everything, and I loved it.
We felt so creative.
The whole audience for science fiction came alive.
I was the ultimate tough guy.
What a great concept.
Badass, sci-fi.
Yeah! I'll be back.
Nostalgia connects us with our imagination.
That's one of the joys of cinema.
It's the positiveness that made for repeat viewing.
Surpasses our brains and goes straight to our heart.
Can't we go back to what I grew up with, which is the beauty of sci-fi and imagination?